Hello, welcome to John Meihua Chinese class. I'm your friend Jasmine. In the last session, we learned that in Chinese language, there are one-syllable words, two-syllables words, and a few multiple syllables words. We also learned that not every Chinese character can be called a word because some of them don't carry a meaning alone. They have to work together with another character to form a whole word that really means something. For example, in the word of 美丽, which means beautiful, the second character 丽 is not a word because it doesn't mean anything. It has to be bound to 美 or another character to form a word that carries a meaning. In today's session, I'm going to introduce the differences of each word class between Chinese and English so that you can better understand what roles each word class can take in a sentence in Chinese language. And I believe that from this learning, you will find out that Chinese grammar is super easy compared with English or Spanish. Let's get started. Hello, welcome to John Meihua Chinese class. I'm your friend Jasmine. In the last session, we learned about the structures of Chinese words. In my opinion, word is the smallest unit, meaningful unit in a sentence. It's better to spend more time understanding the structures of Chinese words and the phonetic roles it plays in a sentence. So today I want to introduce the differences of Chinese words. It's especially its phonetic roles in a sentence compared with English. Okay, so before this class, first, I'd like to let's look at one sentence together to go over what we learned in the last session and to kick off what we are going to learn for this session. So, let me read this sentence. 小时候. 小时候 means when I was a kid. 爸爸, I guess we all know this word, right? 爸爸经常 often, frequently. 教导 this is the verb in this sentence. 教导 means teach. 我 means me. 教导我 teach me. 勤能补拙 I think we can all guess the part after me is the object for this sentence. Let's look at especially this part because it's a Chinese idiom, so I should explain it in more detail. 勤能补拙. If you still remember what we learned in the last session, the structures of Chinese words, you may be able to guess the structure type for this word. Even though it's a big word, it has 4 characters. The word structure for this word is the typical subject, verb, and object structure. Then, which one is the subject part? The first one, of course. 勤 means diligent, work hard. In Chinese, 勤 is an adjective. You may wonder, how come an adjective can function as a subject in a sentence? Keep your question. Let's go to next. Okay, since this part is serving as the object in a sentence. And also, this is actually a small sentence, or you can think of it as a clause in a big sentence. And its structure is subject, verb, and object. So which one is the object? The last one. 拙 is also an adjective in Chinese. It means stupid, not smart. So this idiom means even though you are not that smart, still you can catch up with other people by working hard. So if we read it from left to right, 勤能补拙 means diligent, can make up for stupid. This may sound reasonable in Chinese, right? But in English, definitely we don't say like this. Because in English, adjectives cannot function as the subject in a sentence. We don't say diligent makes up for stupid. Instead, we should say being diligent can make up for being stupid. Now, you may have already guessed about what we are going to learn in today's class. I'm going to share all the important differences between Chinese words and English words, especially the roles the words take in the sentence. So stay tuned. Okay, I'm going to divide this topic into 2 sessions. So today we are going to learn the differences for these 4 word classes: noun, pronoun, adjective, and measure word. So we will learn the differences about the verbs and the particles in the next session. So don't go away. Follow me. Stay tuned. First, the noun. Okay, the biggest change here, the significant difference here for noun in between Chinese and English is there is no form change for noun. Not only neither is the change for noun. Actually, for every word class in Chinese language, we don't change the form, as I already discussed about in the last session, if you still remember. So in English, we often change the form of noun to its corresponding plural form, right? When it is not a single atom. But in Chinese, the singular form is same as plural form. And for forms of address, or for forms of people, titles, we can add a character, man, after the title, after the noun, to make it not single. This is the only, if you think it's a change, okay, this is the only change for the noun to become another grammatical atom. And in English, the plural forms for a singular noun is to add the suffix, right? Either we add s or we add es at the end of the word. And also there are quite a few irregular nouns that we don't attach s or es at the end, and we just change the form to another different form. Let's look at some examples. 先生,先生,先生们. Okay, usually before usually in a meeting, the host or the guest, when they give a speech, they would begin the speech by saying, good morning, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Here, ladies and gentlemen, we know it's a plural form, right? How do we express the plural form in Chinese for the titles? We simply add another character, man, at the end of the title. So this is 先生, gentleman. See, there is no change in the singular form, right? We just add another character at the end. The second one, 女士, ladies. Also the same character, men, 女士们. And 老师们 means more than one teacher. Teachers English. 小学生 is also a title to a certain group of people, right? So to get the plural form, we should also add another character, man. 小学们 means more than for two pupils, you can use this form as the plural form. 小学生们 means pupils. Okay. So when men is used to indicate plural, don't use number ahead. Okay, this is a tip. In English, when we see there are we can either, if we know the number, we can add the number before the plural, right? We can say there are 3 ladies, there are 10 gentlemen. But in Chinese, we should not add any number in front of before the plural form. We should not say 3个小学生们. No, we never say like that. Either we say, if we know the number, we say 3个小学生 without men. Or if we don't know the exact number, but we just want to express there are lots of the quantity is a lot, we can say, we can use a collective measure word, not the pure number. I will explain this later. We can see, for example, there are a group of pupils, right? A group of people means a lot. We can say in Chinese, we can use a measure word. 一群,有一群小学生们. 一群老师们. Just remember, never use a concrete number before the plural in Chinese. For example, it's wrong to say like 3个老师们, 3 teachers. In English, it sounds reasonable, but in Chinese, we don't say it in this way. Instead, if we know the number, we just speak out the number 三个老师 and we use the single form, or we use simply the plural form. If you know the collective measure word that I'm going to explain later, you can use the collective measure word, but never use the concrete number here. Next is about pronoun. For pronoun, I want to explain in 4 types because the differences between Chinese pronoun and English pronoun are quite a lot, and they are all very important. So let's first look at the first type, personal pronoun, which means the pronoun refers to people, right? Person, human. Let's see what it is in English. You should know this is the nominative pronoun, right? They work as the subject at the beginning of a sentence. And this group is the another form, right? When the people are working as an object of a verb, we should use another form. We should not use the nominative form. But in Chinese, these 2 forms are actually the same. 我 means I, 你 means you, 他 this is he, this is she, this is it. 我们 你们 it's the plural of you. 他们 in Chinese, we divide the pronoun of the third party into 3 different words because they refer to different gender. But what's interesting here is in English, we don't differentiate the gender in case it's the plural. So in English, the nominative pronoun and accusative pronoun are different, but in Chinese, they are always the same. So this is a very apparent difference. The second type, possessive pronoun. Actually, it's the same as the first type. This is possessive pronoun, right? The syntactic function is like a noun. You can use this as the subject or as the object in a sentence. In Chinese, you already know that, right? This set is the personal pronoun. By adding a particle later, after it changes to possessive pronoun. 我的你的他的我们的你们的他们的Actually, for possessive, we have 2 types, right? Possessive pronoun and possessive adjective. As we know, adjective often modifies a noun, right? So this set, in English, this set is possessive adjective. we use them to limit a noun, to restrict a noun. So after this, usually a noun is following. So we have a different set of words for possessive pronoun or possessive adjective. But in Chinese, these two concepts are actually the same. We use the same form to express both the possessive pronoun and the possessive adjective. The third type, reflexive pronoun. There is no difference here. Just I want you to know the corresponding way of a corresponding way of expression in different languages. In English, we use the suffix self, right, to express the reflexive of each address. Myself, yourself, himself, herself, itself, ourselves, yourselves, themselves. From self to self, little difference. In China, we use a word 自己 after the pronoun, the personal pronoun. So notice that for the plural of personal pronoun, we don't have a plural form here, right? We don't have the difference as in English from self to selves. In Chinese, it's always 自己 in a single form or in a plural form. Okay, so the fourth type, interrogative pronoun. Literally, it means the pronoun that's used in an interrogative sentence, right? So we all know this set of WH words, right? They often work by leading a sentence, by standing at the beginning of a sentence. So for who, in Chinese we say it's 谁 For whom it's accusative form, right? In Chinese we also say 谁. Actually, these two are same, no difference. For whose, we say 谁的 Whose is about possessiveness, right? So we have this particle of 的 here to form a different word class. 谁的 For which we say which one, 哪一个 For what, we say 什么 Okay, so the most important part comes. Chinese is WH in situ and English is WH movement. What does this mean? Can you guess? As I just mentioned, the interrogative pronoun, we usually put them at the beginning of a sentence, right? They refer to different syntactic role in a sentence. For example, who refers to usually to the subject, right? And whom usually refers to the accusative or the object. Okay. But what's the difference here in Chinese? In Chinese, we don't put all the interactive pronoun at the beginning of the sentence. Actually, we don't care about the position. Whatever the interactive pronoun refers to, in the declarative sentence, it stays at the same place in the interactive sentence. For example, for the nominative pronoun, let's first look at the declarative sentence here. Li Gang is the name of a person. 打扫了教室，打扫 clean， 教室 classroom， le means past tense. Li Gang cleaned the classroom. So Li Gang is the subject in the sentence, right? So what should I say to ask about Li Gang? This is the nominative. This is the subject, right? Who takes some action, who is not the object of an action. So we should change it to, we should find the nominative pronoun for this subject. That is 谁, and we replace Li Gang with the nominative pronoun, and we put it in the same place as in the declarative sentence. 李刚打扫了教室. So it should be 谁打扫了教室, right? We should put 谁 at the place of the 李刚 in the declarative sentence. 谁打扫了教室? By translation, in English, it's who cleaned the classroom. This is an easy one because the nominative pronoun is always working as the subject in the sentence, right? So the order is same between Chinese and English. Let's look at another example. Accusative pronoun. This is in contrast to the nominative pronoun, right? Here's the example. 我找王帆. I look for, right? I look for Wang Fan. Wang Fan is the object in a sentence. In English, it means I'm looking for Wang Fan. Wang Fan. Now I want to raise a question about this object. So we should find the accusative pronoun for this object in a declarative sentence. That is also 谁, and remember the rule, we don't change the position. So we should put this pronoun at the same place as in the declarative sentence. Before I give the answer, can you guess what should we say for this interrogative sentence? We just replace the counterpart in the declarative sentence. 我找. Instead of saying 王帆, we should say the pronoun, right? 我找. 我找谁? No, somebody is asking me. So it should be, he or she should say 你 instead of me, right? I, he should say you. 你找谁? 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 But in English, as we can see here, the position for the pronoun is not the same as
in the Chinese. Why? Because as per the grammar rule, in English, all the interrogative pronoun should lead a sentence. Or we should always put the interrogative pronoun at the beginning of the sentence. So whether it's who or whom, they should always come at the beginning of the sentence. Who are you looking for? In Chinese, we don't change the position. So it's still at the position of the object, right? 你找谁? For possessive pronoun, 谁的, let's first look at the declarative sentence. 这本书是他的 hers, hers. This book is hers. This is a one-one translation, so you can better understand the sentence structure for the Chinese. This book is hers. Now I want to ask about the possessive part. In Chinese, if you still remember, we don't change the order, right? We just replace the word, the syntax role to its corresponding pronoun, interrogative pronoun. So whatever is there, we just keep it here. 这本书是，这本书是，他的 we just change 他的 to the corresponding pronoun. 谁的，谁的。See, even it's an interrogative sentence, the sentence order doesn't change, right? However, in English, we should always bring the pronoun, the interrogative pronoun, to the beginning of the sentence. So in English, it's whose is this book? See, the order is totally opposite to the order in Chinese. So this is a very important part between Chinese and English. Similarly, for another one, which 哪一个 which 什么 what 你喜欢哪一个颜色 actually 哪一个 or 哪个 both are fine. You can omit the number here because the measure word actually it already means a single one. So you can keep it, you can keep the one or you can ignore it. 你喜欢哪个颜色？你喜欢哪个颜色？See, the interrogative pronoun is in the middle of the sentence, right? It's not at the beginning of the sentence in Chinese. But English, the pronoun should come at the beginning. Which color do you like? For 什么 what 你喜欢什么水果okay, but in English we should say what fruit do you like? What? So coming back to the first slide, as I said here, Chinese is WH in situation. English is WH movement, means from a declarative sentence to the interrogative sentence, we should change the order in the sentence. Or simply speaking, we should we should put the interrogative pronoun at the beginning of the sentence always. Here is the conclusion. Wherever the pronoun sits in a declarative sentence, replace it with the corresponding interrogative pronoun without changing the position when raising a question against that pronoun. This is very important grammar rule in Chinese, and I think it makes sense quite simple. You don't bother to change the order and accordingly change the order for the verbs, for the subject, or for the object. Quite simple, okay? Okay, the third word type, adjective. If you still remember, at the beginning, I give an example sentence. In that sentence, the subject was an adjective. It was not a noun. That's the magic. Also, that's one of very important grammar rules I want to introduce to you when you learn Chinese language. So we actually the adjective in Chinese, it takes on multiple syntactic functions. Apart from the most common syntactic function we all know about, an adjective functions as an attribute before a noun. I would say that's the only syntactic function it performs in English language. But in Chinese, it has three additional syntactic functions that may exceed your imagination. Who are these additional syntactic functions? Predictive, adverbial, and subject or object. So attributive adjective, this is simple, right? It just comes before a noun, but what's worth mentioning here is we should use a particle in between the adjective and the noun. This is not a rule that we can find in English, but I would say it looks a little bit similar to the grammar in Spanish. I just started learning Spanish and I got to know that in Spanish we use the particle of also it pronounces as de here, similar to Chinese character de. We use de or de. We use de before the modifiers. The modifiers can be a person. It can be a object. And the adjective is the belongings of a person or is a feature of an object. Anyway, it indicates the relationship, right, between the feature and an object or a person. So that's quite interesting here. Even though it's different from English, it's a bit same as Spanish. For example, 好人 or 好的人 人 is man, right? 好 is good. 好的人 we normally we have a particle 的 in between. Another one, 美丽的人 美丽 means beautiful. 美丽的人 beautiful woman, beautiful man. See, we have this particle here, 的。大的房子，大 means big, right? Big house. In English, we don't have anything in between, but in Chinese, we should add a particle in between the adjective and the noun. The last one, 晴朗的天，晴朗 means sunny. The sky is shining, sunny day. 晴朗的天 between 晴朗 and 天 we have this particle 的。Actually, for single syllable words, single syllable adjective, for example, 好 or 大, it's one single character, right? This word, it is a word, but it's a one syllable word, or it's one character word. So usually we can omit the particle. But for two characters word or more characters word, usually we should have this particle. We don't ignore it. So this is quite simple. Let's look at the second syntactic function. Adjective functions as predicate without a linking verb. What is the linking verb here? It's the verb of be, right? Be means are. For example, 我饿了. 我 means I. 饿 means hungry. In Chinese, it's an adjective. 我饿了. Between a noun and adjective, there's nothing here. Does it look weird? If you think English, this is absolutely wrong, right? Because in English, if the predicate is a noun or is a adjective, we should have a linking verb, right? We should have means are. But in Chinese, we don't have to have it. Actually, we don't have it. Another one, 天很蓝, 天 sky, 很 means very, 蓝 means blue. Still, we don't see any linking verb here, right? But in English, we should say the sky is very blue. We must have this linking verb here, the verb of be. 蓝 is an adjective. Another one, 这个问题简单，这个问题简单，这个 means this. 问题 means problem or question. 简单 is an adjective, means easy to do, easy to handle. See, we don't have any verb here in the sentence, right? It's subject plus an adjective. But in English, we should say this question is easy. Is easy. This phrase is functioning as the predicate in a sentence. But in Chinese, the adjective itself, without any linking verb, functions as the predicate. This is very different. This is a very different rule. Everyone should remember, keep it in mind when you learn Chinese. The third syntactic function is an adjective can function as adverbial or function as an adverb to modify verbs, and still it doesn't require form change. For example, 快走, 快 is an adjective, means fast, quick. 走 is verb, 走 is work. 快走. English we say work quickly. Here we know that quickly is transformed from the adjective quick, right? Quick is adjective. Quickly is the adverb. Can we say work quick. That's incorrect in English as per grammar, right? Only an adverb can modify or restrict the verb in English. An adjective cannot modify a verb in English. But in Chinese, it can, and it doesn't require form change. Second one, 他默默地流泪。他 she 默默 it's an adjective, means silent. 默默地流泪 的 is the particle, right? 的 is the particle between adverbial and a verb. This sentence means she 流泪 means cry. She cried silently. Can we say she cried silent? Definitely no, we should not say it this way. This is an incorrect sentence. Instead, we should say she cried silently. We should use the adverb form for the adjective silent. We should never use an adjective to modify a verb. The last example, 大声的读。大声的 means loud. 大声 is an adjective in Chinese. 读 means read, it's a verb. In English, it means read loudly. Read loudly. Here, loudly, it's not loud. It should be an adverb, right? But how do we know the adverb form for a adjective? We have some grammar rules, right? The most common one is to add the suffix ly at the end of the adjective. Loud becomes loudly, then it can modify any verb in a sentence. Also, a tip here for single syllable adjectives or for single character adjectives, like 快 means fast. The particle de can be omitted. We can also ignore it. Like in a situation that when an adjective is modifying a noun, if it's a single character adjective, we also ignore the particle de. The last syntactic function for adjective is that adjective can function as subject or object without form change. Most commonly, adjective is the feature, right, to modify a noun. But how come it can work as a subject or object? Yes, that's possible in Chinese. I know it's impossible in English. But how do we do this? Let's look at an example here. 穷不是你的错。穷不是你的错。穷 is an adjective. It means poor. This is a correct sentence in Chinese. No grammar issue at all. But in English, can we say like this? Poor is not your fault. Of course, we cannot. Why? Because adjective cannot function as the subject. Instead, we should use the nominal form of an adjective. We can change poor to being poor to make it nominal so that it can function as the subject in the sentence. Being poor is not your fault. Another one, 善良是最大的美德。善良是最大的美德。善良means kind-hearted or warm-hearted. It's an adjective. Here it functions as the subject, which is correct. No issue. Then in English, how do we translate it into English? Can we say kind or warm-hearted is the greatest virtue? Of course, we cannot. We should use the nominal form, right? We should change the adjective into its noun form. So we can say being kind, or we can use the typical noun form for an adjective. Kindness. Kindness is the greatest virtue. The third example, 我喜欢安静。我喜欢安静。This is a very simple SVO sentence structure. 安静 here means quiet. It's an adjective. See, it works as the object of this verb. 喜欢 like, right? 喜欢。How do we translate it into English? I like quiet. No, we should not. In the role of an object, it should be like a noun, right? Or a pronoun. So we should use the nominal form of an adjective. 安静, the noun form of 安静 is quiet to quietness, right? So we should say, I like being quiet, or I like quietness. Here, being quiet is more appropriate because it's a status. It's a mental status of a person, right? So being quiet is better here. Okay, the last word class for today's session, measure word. I know you must be you must feel very strange about this word class. I know because it's a unique word class in Chinese. As I know, it's not existed in English, neither in Spanish. And in Chinese, we have tons of measure words for different objects, for different stuff in the nature, for different noun. That is really a headache for most Chinese learners who are not native Chinese speaker. I will share more sessions of teaching about this topic. But today, we just need to understand some fundamentals of this unique word class, measure word. In Chinese, we say 量词, 量词. It indicates the unit or quantity of a noun or an action. Even for an action, for a verb, we can use the measure word to indicate the frequency or the duration of an action. Also, the measure word has two types. If it modifies a noun, it is called nominal measure word. If it modifies a verb, it is called verbal measure word. The structure for nominal measure word is simple, just by combining number and measure word and noun. For example, we can easily find examples for this because almost every object has its corresponding measure word in Chinese. For example, 一个人, always the first part, it has three parts, right? Always the first part is about number. The The second part is the measure word. The third part, whether it's a single character or two characters, it's about the object, the noun. 一个人 means one person. 一个人. Here, the middle part, right? 个 is the measure word. We can easily tell the difference here. The left column is Chinese. It has three parts. The right column is English. It usually has only two parts. The first part is about the number. The second part is about the noun. 两本书, 两 means two. 本 is the measure word. 两本书, two books. 三只猫, three kite, three cats. 四条鱼, 四 means four. The measure word for 鱼 is 条. There is no rational behind this. We have to remember it, memorize it. If you noticed, see, when the number is more than 2, still we see the noun is still in the singular form, right? We don't see any plural forms here. Yes, that's correct. Except for the address, for the title of human, we have the plural form. For all other stuff, no life stuff, we don't have the plural form. We just use the number, which is more than 1, to modify, to indicate the noun is plural, is not single. But by contrast, in English, we can always see the plural form, right? We can always see the suffix of s or es. And plus the number, we can easily tell it's a plural form. Okay, one useful tip here. Actually, I already discussed about this previously. For the plurals of the address, we should not use the individual measure word or the number. Previously I just explained that we should not use any concrete number to modify the plural form. Similarly, no number, no measure word. For example, 三个学生们, 学生们 is the plural form for the singular noun of 学生 student. 学生们 means more than one student. In this situation, we don't use a number at the beginning. We don't use any number at the beginning. Accordingly, we don't use any measure word because measure word always comes after the number, right? No number, no measure word. Okay. Instead, we can for the first situation, the number plus the individual measure word, it looks like contradicting with the plural form of the noun, right? That it modifies. However, we can still find a way to modify the plural form to indicate that the plural is at a big volume. There are many of them. How do we say this? We can use the collective measure word. Here, This may sound a little bit difficult for you now, but you just know there is such a thing, such a grammar rule to modify the plural form when we want to express the plural has a lot in number. We can use the collective measure word to modify it. But we never use the individual form. What is individual form? It's concrete number plus the measure word. So here, 一组 is 一组 or 两组. The 组 is the collective measure word. It means a team of something, a block of something, a pack of something, or a group of something. So, in translation into English, we should say a group of students, a big group of students. The second type of measure word is used to modify a verb to indicate the frequency, the duration, or method of an action. For example, 去一次，去 go 一次 one time 次 is the measure word. Look at the structure here. The structure is verb plus number plus measure word. If you still remember, for the nominal measure word, the number and the measure word, this combination comes before the noun, right? Which is correct? Which is easy to understand. However, for the verb, the structure is opposite. The verb always comes at first. Number and the measure word comes after the verb. Okay, so the next one, 读两遍. We can guess the first character is a verb, right? 读 means read. 两 is the number, means two. 遍 is the measure word. So this means read twice. 学三天, 学 is a verb, right? It means learn. 三 is a number. 天 is the measure word. 天 is day. It's about time. So this measure word indicates the duration of this verb. So the meaning is learn for 3 days. 打两拳, 打 is another verb, means hit. 两 number, 拳 is the measure word. 拳 actually it's a noun. It's also a noun in Chinese. It means your fist, your fist. Okay, so hit, twice, hit, use. Actually, the meaning for this expression in Chinese, it means hit someone using the fist 2 times. Hit twice with fist. Or more natively, we have a corresponding English word for this, right? Punch, punch. Punch means to hit using your fist. Punch twice. From this phrase, you can see that the measure word is referring to the tool or the method for a verb. So, again, the verb measure word is used to indicate the frequency, how many times you do this action, the duration. For one time of action, how long does it last, or the method of action. With what tools you do this action. Okay, it comes to the end. So in the next session, I'm going to introduce the differences for verbs and particles between Chinese and English language. Actually, these 2 parts are the most important parts. I hope you can follow me, and I hope you don't miss this session, because after this session, I believe you will also believe Chinese is not that difficult as you or your friends might have been imagine or sense. Because I studied English for many years, and I just started learning Spanish from this year. I can promise you the Chinese grammar is way simpler than English and Spanish. But I also admit that there are many difficulties for foreigners to learn Chinese language because Chinese characters are logographic script. It's hard to remember, hard to write, and also hard to pronounce. Um, that really takes time to master to some extent. But trust me, for grammar, it is very simple. If you just follow me and watch every session from the beginning, I believe it won't take long for you to be a qualified middle level Chinese learner. Um, so that's for today's session. I hope to see you again in my next session that I just explained. It's really, really important. So see you. Hasta luego.